All I'm doing, thinking about this game, we're about to preview it, is imagining what chaos ensues if Michigan wins a fifth straight rivalry game against Ohio State. They're 9.5-point dogs. That's a lot, but heck, they were 20-point dogs last year, and they got the job done. So that's like first things first for me is I'm just going to a happy place, and I'm not even trying to hate on Ohio State, but I just love college football, and I love chaos, and I love rivalries. Like, what ensues if Michigan pulls this off again? It's a tough task. Ohio State's been phenomenal. They're my number one team in the country. I've been high on them all year, so don't call me a hater because I really have been high on them. And Michigan's offense has been hot and cold. The defense isn't as good as it has been in the past. It's had some issues, and that's why the spread is 9.5. But crazier things have happened, and in some ways it kind of feels like Ohio State has a monkey on their back, and maybe they come out tight for this game. They come out nervous even though they're so good, and Michigan takes advantage of that. But y'all's thoughts on this game?
Yeah, like you said, Michigan's won 4 in a row. They were 20.5-point dogs last year and shocked the eventual champs with the quarterback who had gone through leukemia, if I'm not mistaken. And they end up beating Ohio State.
I'm not laughing at that he had leukemia. I'm laughing at the absurdity of the fact that he was the QB that won him the game.
It's a part of the story.
I'm anti-leukemia, I promise.
Absolutely, as we all are here at Technical Fowl. I won't speak for Sanders.
I mean, he's a hater. He may be... I mean, you've yet to heard him deny.
I am 100% against leukemia,
okay,
guys.
that's fair.
I'll
Good.
just put that out there.
Look, the winner goes to the Big Ten championship game to play Indiana. If you don't know, Michigan win this game, and Ohio State doesn't play in the Big Ten championship. We've talked about it for not just we here at Technical Fowl, but much of college football has talked about Ohio State, Indiana. That's the game we're on a collision course for. Michigan can just wrap that up and throw that away and head themselves up to Indianapolis. I guess I should say down to Indianapolis to play Indiana in the Big Ten championship game. I think one of the big questions off the bat is we're talking about, like discourse with Ryan Day, which him getting fired is 100% on the board after winning a national championship if they were to lose to Michigan again this year. But I think one of my first reactions and my questions was, does a Michigan win guarantee that they are in the playoff?
Where are they at right now?
They right now sit at 18, I should say, in last week's college football playoff poll.
And who's at 10? Like who's the first team they'd have to jump?
The first team they'd have to jump is Bama, if I'm not mistaken, and then they would have to jump either Notre Dame, Oklahoma, Oregon. But the question is, where do you put Ohio State? Because they have to be ahead of Ohio State probably with the head-to-head, even though that they have the 2 losses.
No, Ohio State would fall to like
3.
4. Yeah, 3 or 4.
They'd fall to,
And Michigan would be lucky to sneak inside the top 10.
Really?
Yeah.
They have. I mean, I would argue Michigan has 2 pretty competitive losses.
I will say, so can we just kind of, Georgia Tech lost, so Michigan is at 17. USC lost, so Michigan is at 16.
Mm-hmm.
Texas did not lose.
They're at 16, let's say.
Yeah, I think I'd safely say I don't think that their win. Who do they play? Probably it was a Big Ten team. So Maryland,
number 1 team in the country.
No. I'm talking about like I'm trying to think where they are this week. So they're at 16. I don't think that they're gonna jump.
You don't think they'll jump to 10?
I think they will because they'll have the best
And
win.
you think Ohio State will drop to 11 from number 1?
Well, maybe not Ohio State has to drop, but they at least get into 10.
I think they will be in the field. I think the committee will basically find a way to make it happen because you just beat the number 1 team in the country. And they talk about quality losses all the time.
Yeah.
They're not bad losses. They don't have bad
OU
losses.
and at USC.
Correct.
I will say,
But go ahead.
if Ohio State looks bad, so it depends on how the game goes. If we see some of the things that we haven't had to see from Ohio State, because I feel like other than the Oregon game, they haven't truly been tested. They're kind of tested in not Oregon. They didn't play Oregon.
Yeah.
Who did they play? They played
Oklahoma. Or are you talking about Ohio State?
Ohio State. They played
Texas and Washington.
And that's it.
Washington. Thank you. Not Oregon. So they played Texas, and then since then, we haven't seen them pushed in any manner. And so if they come out against Michigan and they get pushed, because what?
Because of their own doing.
Because they're Phi. They're pretty elite.
Yes.
Yes. No, they are elite. But if they come out and they struggle against Michigan and some of the things that we just haven't had to see from them we see don't work, then I could see Michigan potentially being ranked above them. Maybe they jump up to like 8 and Ohio State's at 9, or they're at 7 and Ohio State's at 8. That is the only way I see that happening.
I just don't see it happening because of their own logic with this whatever the heck a competitive pool is. I think they can just drop Ohio State to like 4 or 5. Then
think that's
Michigan's
more
at like 10, and then it's like, well, yeah, the head's there, but they're not close enough for us to really think about it yet.
I don't think you're guaranteed for Ohio State to just drop to 4 or 5. Bama dropped from 4 to 10.
Yeah, Bama
That's
already
a
had another loss.
6-spot drop. I understand that, but they also lost to a really competitive team around the same ranking in Oklahoma.
And if you're going to talk about head-to-heads, then you go, oh, but Oklahoma's right there. Michigan lost to Oklahoma, so then like we have to do this whole thing of
then
like
it should be OU, Michigan, Ohio State. Potentially, look, I
Ohio
think
State out of the playoffs? Is that what you're saying?
regardless of whatever
if Michigan
y'all
beats Ohio
believe,
State,
if
they should
Michigan
be in the
beats
playoffs.
Ohio State, they should be in the top 10. And then I think the precedent will take over that if they lose to Indiana, a 10-3 Michigan will be in the playoff as the 10 seed.
This is a playoff game for Michigan.
Otherwise, they'd have to shock me like the Georgia scenario where they are sitting there at 10 and they fall out because someone below them advances in, whether it's like BYU wins the Big 12. That could throw a wrench in all of that. I think Michigan, I think this, once again, is a playoff play-in game.
Completely agree.
Which is something that we've had 3 out of the last 4 years in this game, even going back to the 4-team model. It feels like, for Ohio State X's and O's wise, saying, given the road environment that Ohio State is going to be in with Julian Sayin and his first game start, that Ohio State's going to start running the ball and they're going to lean on the run. This year they ran the ball 53.4% of the time. I compared that to last year because a lot of the reaction to last year's game was Ohio State went away from what they were good at, throwing the football. They leaned too much on the run. The box score doesn't necessarily say that, but they were identical coming into last year's game as they are this year. 53.4% of the time, they run the football. It's the exact same with Julian Sayin as it was with Will Howard and those dynamic backs last year. I think it felt like they got into last year's game and tried to run the ball early, and that's the big reaction for it. They ran it 26 times for 77 yards. At that point in the season, they were averaging 177 yards per game, and so Michigan will probably need something like that. This year, they are averaging 160 on the ground, and they are very much relying on Sayin to have good passing days and, of course, the defense to carry them. Their defense has been nothing but historic, giving up just 9 touchdowns all season, still more passing touchdowns than Mark Gronowski. Michigan has the 10th best rushing offense, and Jordan Marshall, their second-string running back, is likely to start after not playing last week, but Justice Haynes is still likely out for the regular season and would not return unless they played in the playoff. I don't think he'd play next week in the Big Ten championship game either. And more bad news, as their fullback, Max Bredesen, and I apologize if I butchered his name.
Sorry, Max.
He's out for this game as well. Fullback, that's your lead blocker, and they use him a ton with their big sets, and that could end up impacting this game if you don't have one of your best blockers on guys like Sonny Styles and Arvell Reese. Michigan hasn't lost at home this year, but the best opponent they've played by far at home is just Washington, and that was in a big new kickoff game. This is Michigan's 6th home game of the year in Game 12. That is kind of unprecedented. They played 5 road games in the Big Ten, and they also played 1 game on the road outside of it at OU. They've played 6 road games, 5 home games. This will be their 6th
The crowd will be fired up.
home game.
I can't wait.
So the crowd will be fired up. They've got a shortened season. For Michigan, I think Andrew Marsh, Donovan McCulley dictate the story for Michigan. And I think overall wide receiver play is what it'll be. Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate versus Donovan McCulley and Andrew Marsh. I think the larger takeaway people will potentially have is Sayin versus Bryce Underwood in this game, potentially, if they compete at the same level, or if Bryce just outcompetes Sayin in a big way. It'll be a huge
Yeah.
statement against that Ohio State defense. and it can only really propel his career forward.
Sure.
So it's a really, really big moment for Bryce Underwood as the true freshman, building off of what they have to look forward to next year. The fact that they're even here at this point in the year, I think, is really, really a testament
They've done a good job.
to how well they've played. They haven't really been challenged a ton in a huge bunch of big games, especially at home. But this is the game. They've won this 4 games in a row. All the mojo's leaning towards them.
They're playing with house money, too, in a lot of ways.
100%.
Like, talking about mojo leaning their way.
Ohio State has to go out there. They have to handle the business. They have to play the really good defense. But I think for them, it is really on how does Julian Sayin handle the crowd environment, handle the moment. Does he get antsy? Does the completion percentage go from 80% to 60%?
Yeah.
Does he throw a pick in this game? I think those are all critical factors. And for me, all the pressure is on Julian Sayin, but all the stuff to gain is for Bryce Underwood in Michigan.
Yeah. A couple of key points for me. Last year's score was 13-10. I think Michigan needs something similar to that again. I just don't see any way that you put up big points on this Ohio State defense because no one has, and it's not even like Michigan's offense has been doing it to other teams. So I think the defense is really going to have to come in. The Sayin piece is huge because this is this is the highest stakes game he's played in so far. I know the Texas game was huge, but this is on the road. Y'all can't beat these guys all of a sudden. You're going to be the savior. You're the guy that's been tasked with lifting the curse, so to speak.
And they protected him in that game. They only threw the ball 20
exactly
times.
what I was about to say. Sayin was not the reason they won that game.
Absolutely.
And so if you get into a situation where Sayin has to win you this game, how does that go? Plus, I know Jeremiah Smith and Tate were like rested last week, but they definitely aren't 100%. So like that's why they were rested. They were held out as a precaution. Are they back to 100%? Or are they still going to be a little banged up, a little limpy? How does that factor in? Michigan's the 10th best offense in rush yards per game. I would say you're going to need every bit of that, but you're not going to get every bit of that.
Definitely not.
So what can you find in the run game? And then can offensive playmakers that haven't really been great, though Marsh has come on late, can receivers make plays to help Bryce Underwood? And the last thing I want to say, Bryce Underwood's a true freshman playing the best defense in the country, a historically great defense, great defensive mind in Matt Patricia. This may be a lot of people's first time watching Bryce Underwood. Regardless of what happens, let's relax. No, I don't need to see any takes after the game if Bryce Underwood has a bad day of top quarterback in the country for what?
Bryce Underwood fat.
Yeah, this is what he's done? Exactly. I just don't, that's just not helpful, and I think it's untrue, and you're just taking away credit from Ohio State at that point and taking away what Bryce Underwood's done the rest of the season at this point.
Absolutely.
So we're going to see that. I just wish I wasn't.
The only true freshman I can think of who performed in those kind of bright lights would be Trevor Lawrence. I guess Tua did it when he got thrown in that national championship. I'll
allude to that game in just a second.
True freshman getting, and not that Bryce Underwood's been thrown in. He's been starting the whole season, but it's just a different. It's tough.
Johnny Manziel,
not a true freshman. He's a redshirt.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But
tough.
It's not the standard for freshmen to come in and just take the world by storm and play dominant offensive play.
Especially when your best running back is out and then your best receiver is a fellow freshman that it was a fairly highly rated recruit, but no one was really talking about him as a day one contributor.
No.
Watch out for Andrew Marsh. He's going to go crazy this year.
I think a large part of that, it was shown in, not that it's a big source, but in our college football fantasy league, where we have 16 teams, Andrew Marsh wasn't picked in this year's draft.
You got him week 5 or 6?
I got him week 5 or 6 off waivers.
That's crazy.
Because I went to go find him and you had beat me to it, which is sad, but well done by you.
Appreciate it. Like you're saying, nothing was expected for him in that case. Getting into the picking this game, this game is always turned largely due to turnovers. Michigan has won the turnover battle many of these years, and then I think a huge one for Michigan when they shocked Ohio State at the shoe 3 years ago, or I should say, I guess that would have been 3 years ago. They had a huge cap buster run, a huge run from Donovan Edwards, future cover athlete.
Oh yeah,
Of the college football
what a fall off,
video
man.
game. Massive fall off. It became a curse, sadly. But Travis Hunter did win the Heisman, so not so much. I think Michigan needs something like that. I think they need Jordan Marshall to pop a 70-yard touchdown run somewhere in this game.
Sure.
And like you said, Jack, I think it's going to have to be a game where they win it 16-13, something like that. They kick 3 field goals and then score the 1 touchdown. Because Ohio State, it's given up just 9 touchdowns this year. And it's not like Michigan's offense. It's Tennessee's offense coming in to play Ohio State. It is Michigan's offense. Yeah. They've been really good on the run, but not great through the air. They're going to need an explosive play, win the turnover battle to have a chance. That being said, the spread opened at 11.5. Ohio State is favored by 9.5. I will be cheering for the Michigan Wolverines because I am a Go Blue supporter. Hail to the victors, as they would say. But give me Ohio State to cover 9.5 as my pick for the pick'em because I would rather win this than Michigan win.
Sure.
Give me Ohio State, the best team in the country, to finally get it done at Michigan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no problem picking Ohio State to win, but I do think that this could end up being a low-scoring game. I do think we could see a score like 17-10, 21-14. So I am going to pick Michigan to cover.
17-17. No, you can't see that. 17-7, 24-14.
Yeah, I think getting into my pick, I think I'm going to take Ohio State to cover in about a 10-point win. I think it'll be tight and close early, but Michigan just not going to find offensive success, and eventually, due to that, Ohio State's offense is going to kind of break through and start finding some success, and then Michigan's going to have to push to try and keep the game close, and that's just not going to work. And then Ohio State will eventually kind of pull away. I don't think you're going to see a massive blowout, though I will say, I do wonder if there's a world where Ohio State is so pissed that if they see, just about the past 4 years, that if they see a chink in the Michigan's armor and they see daylight, that they're just going to punch until all of a sudden
it's like 35-14.
It's like stop, he's already dead.
Yeah.
I think there's more outcomes of the next 2 weeks where Ohio State beats Michigan and loses to Indiana.
Yeah.
Then they win this game and then also beat Indiana. I think they're going to leave.
Well, if they lose this game, they won't play Indiana.
Yes. Out of the 2 scenarios where they beat Michigan, I think more scenarios lead to them losing to Indiana next week because I think they're going to leave so much emotion out there on the floor, or on the field, I should say.
Hard to turn back
and
around.
It's going to be really hard to turn back around. Indiana gets to play at Purdue, and they should have a walk in the park. And also, because of the injuries, potentially with Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, those aren't going to get better playing in a game. And so that could be a concern next week. And so I think you see more scenarios where Indiana wins next week than Ohio State does if Ohio State can win in the Big House.